Part 2. Super Zoo. Author, Yin Se Nian Bai. Chapter 11. You're a god, can't you hope for me? Su Ming rolled his eyes. How can you talk like that? I'm not going to die, how can I become a god? That's not what I meant. I just said that the place you live in is like a god's residence. Living here is like being a hermit in a martial arts novel. I have to go and see it. Wang Hao was excited as if he had been injected with chicken blood. He picked up 2 big bags in one hand and rushed to the water corridor like a fat penguin, twisting his butt and running towards the waterside pavilion. Fatty, slow down, don't fall into the water, Su Ming chased after him with a bag. When he first came, Wang Hao was also like this. He was so excited that he couldn't find his way. So he let Wang Hao run around in the waterside pavilion while he opened the luggage bags one by one and sorted the luggage. Oh my god, 2 floors, this is your villa. Old Su, such a big place, and it's in the wilderness, are you scared to live alone? Do you want me to live with you? Wang Hao walked around the 2nd floor, walked down the wooden stairs, and winked at Su Ming. Su Ming took out the computer case and put it on the table, and glanced at Wang Hao. What wilderness? There are many people living in the zoo. If someone else lived in Ting Feng Shui Pavilion, maybe they would be a little scared at night. After all, there is no one within a few hundred meters around, and behind the back wall of the zoo not far away is the mountain. But Su Ming grew up in the mountains since he was a child, so this problem does not exist at all. Every year during the holidays, especially during the winter and spring festival holidays, in order to prevent wild boars from going down the mountain to waste food, the police station in Su Ming's hometown gave hunting rifles to the mountain people and allowed hunting. Su Ming went hunting in the mountains with his family more than once, and sometimes stayed in the mountains for one night. He has long been accustomed to it. Forget about moving in, I'm a straight guy. But you can come and play when you have time, I won't charge you for the entrance fee, Su Ming said with a smile. Wang Hao jumped up and down with his phone, looking around and taking pictures, and sent them to the university group. Wang Hao and Su Ming are classmates, and they are in the same group. When Wang Hao sent this, Su Ming's phone started to vibrate wildly, with a long string of messages. At the top of the group was the photo of Tingfen Water Pavilion sent by Wang Hao. Although it was at night, there were lights around the water pavilion, and you could clearly see the winding corridors and the 2-story retro building Tingfen Water Pavilion in the small lake. Where is Lao Wang traveling again? Someone asked. It looks like a place for filming movies. Leader Wang, you are not going there to have an affair with a female star, someone joked. Bullshit about an affair, this is the dormitory of our Suda talent, Wang Hao said. This made the crowd explode. Damn, it's just a lakeside villa. What kind of company has such good benefits and provides lakeside villas for employees? Lao Su, come out, wow, you've become rich. Su Ming laughed and typed a line of words, Mao's villa, I'm here to visit the zoo, so I live in the zoo. A bunch of surprised expressions followed immediately. Damn, then I don't need to buy a ticket when I go to the zoo in the future. It's a good place, with beautiful scenery and pleasant environment. Lao Su, your family is too wild, you can even be arranged to go to the zoo. You were not honest before. Mao's dishonest, temporary worker, do you understand, the kind that blocks attention, Su Ming smiled and typed a line of words. Is this a temporary job? Even my own son doesn't have this kind of job. Envy, jealousy, I want to go to the zoo to feed bears. Feeding you to the bears is better, ha ha ha. How can we who work in big companies feel? No, we're going to rip off old Su. Su Ming wrote, I'm just looking good, less than 3,000 a month, you guys come and try. Such a good place, people can live a few more years if they live there for a long time, I'll do it even if they give me 3,000. The one who said this was a rich guy in the class, whose family runs a listed company. Come on, stop making trouble, come and play when you have time, I'll treat you. After chatting in the group for a while, Su Ming put away his phone, called Wang Hao to the platform, sat by the water, and said, "Let me tell you something serious." "What's the matter?" Wang Hao took off his shoes, put his feet in the lake water like Su Ming did during the day, and asked Su Ming. "Did you see those boats?" Su Ming pointed to the cruise ship on the shore not far away. "Do you want me to find some girls to have sex on the boat?" "I haven't tried it on a boat yet." Wang Hao's eyes lit up. Su Ming slapped his forehead and said unhappily, "What the hell? I have a way to make a little money. If you are willing to invest, how about we contract these boats and do some cruise business?" While Su Ming was cleaning here in the afternoon, he met two groups of people who came to ask if they could row a boat. It seems that there is still business to do. He was also a little tempted. However, these boats are relatively old. If you want to start a cruise business, you must first spend money to test the cruises, and buy fuel and so on. The initial investment is at least several thousand, and it is several thousand. Su Ming can't take out this money. Even if he can, he wants to pull Fatty Wang to do it together. Okay, this business can be done. One boat costs 20 yuan per hour, and your bumper boat costs 30 yuan, so you can make 80 yuan a day, and you can make more on holidays. You have 1, 2, 3, 7, 8 boats, so you can still make 17,000 or 18,000 yuan a month. Cruise ships are very profitable, and you can probably make a net profit of 13,000 or 14,000 yuan. Wang Hao's family is in charge of gardens, so he knows a lot about this kind of thing. Then let's put it this way, you invest, I manage, and we split the profits in half. According to this calculation, in addition to half of it going to the zoo, Wang Hao and I can probably get about 3,000 or 4,000 yuan each a month. 3,000 or 4,000 yuan is not a lot, but my salary is only 3,000 yuan. The key is that this is almost a business with no capital. Anyway, I have to stay in the zoo 24 hours a day, and most of the time I am here at the waterside. I am idle anyway, which is equivalent to making extra money. Calculated, including the salary, I can make nearly 7,000 yuan a month. Among the working class in Yangchuan City, it is definitely not low. Even the technicians of the big pharmaceutical companies who failed to apply for the job at the beginning could not get so much at the beginning. Besides, Su Ming has a little trick in his mind. Between friends, feelings are the foundation, but if the feelings are mutually beneficial, then the relationship will be more stable. Now that we have graduated, we are not like before, living in the same dormitory day and night. If Wang Hao and I are still just eating, drinking and playing, then this relationship will definitely fade away with time and mutual maturity. Wang Hao's father is in charge of the garden. If I can make my relationship with Wang Hao closer through such a small business, I will have an extra guarantee. If I encounter any trouble in the future, I can also ask Wang Hao's father for help. For Wang Hao's family, a few thousand yuan of extra income is nothing, but it is equivalent to giving Wang Hao a real job to do, so that he won't be idle all day long and cause trouble to his father sooner or later. Although the cruise business is not big, it is indeed beneficial to both parties. Wang Hao is usually not very reliable, but he is quite serious when it comes to doing business. The two sat by the water and quickly finalized the specific matters of the cruise business. Wang Hao also contacted a master who repaired cruise ships. As he was talking, Wang Hao's face suddenly changed, he screamed and jumped up as if he was electrocuted. "What's wrong?" Su Ming asked curiously. Wang Hao pointed at the water in horror. "Oh my God, there is something in the water." "What is it?" Su Ming looked into the water in some surprise, thinking that it might not be a big-headed catfish. After contacting animal friends, animals seem to become smarter. Could it be that the big-headed catfish saw the light, knew that he was back, came to ask for food, and touched Wang Hao's feet. Super Zoo. Author, Yin Seg Nian Bai. Chapter 12. Su Ming lay on the railing of the platform and stretched his head to look into the water. With the help of the lights in the waterside pavilion, he saw a group of splashes on the lake where Wang Hao had just stepped, and a big head emerged from the water. It was the big-headed catfish in the daytime. After the big-headed catfish floated out, it floated on the water weakly, half of its body leaning on the bluestone steps. The fish tail twitched slightly from time to time, and there was a shocking wound on it, as if it was bitten hard by some ferocious animal. This guy didn't come for food, but for help. Su Ming quickly released a burst of mental power without making a sound, and felt that its vitality was much weaker than during the day, and it might die at any time. He quickly sent his mental power over, and the vitality of the big-headed catfish was immediately restored by the stimulation of the mental power. However, after all, it was seriously injured, and even a piece of its tail was bitten off, which was almost a fatal injury for it. For a while, it could only save its life, and it couldn't move much. Su Ming had no choice but to fish the big head out first and put it in a large water tank, and then put it back into the lake after it healed. Not quite right, Wang Hao shook his head. What's wrong? Look how timid you are, it's just a catfish. Su Ming said this, but he was also very surprised. There were almost no fish in the lake, and this half-foot-long catfish was almost the king of the lake. Moreover, catfish have big mouths and eat all over the place. Among freshwater fish, they are relatively ferocious. Even some crayfish and crabs are bullied by catfish. What can hurt it like this? Wang Hao said with certainty, it's not this fish, the thing that hit my foot just now, it's sharp and hard. As if to confirm Wang Hao's statement, a splash of water surged on the water surface not far away, but it was several times larger than the splash when the catfish appeared just now. A pointed head emerged from the splash, with an eagle-shaped mouth on the head, and fierce light in the round eyes on both sides. A section of the spine also floated to the surface of the water, and there were hideous bone spurs like armor on the spine. Crocodile, Su Ming was shocked. This thing looks very much like a crocodile. But then he reacted, a crocodile with chicken feathers, if there were crocodiles in this place, it would have been a big deal. Wang Hao shouted, oh my god, it's an alligator turtle. Alligator turtles, as the name suggests, are turtles that look like alligators. With a strange and ferocious appearance, alligator turtles are one of the most primitive reptiles and can be regarded as witnesses of the dinosaur era. Alligator turtles have strong survival ability, are resistant to pollution, have strong reproductive ability, and have a large appetite. They are also fierce and have few natural enemies. Wherever they go, they often bring extinction consequences to local aquatic species, especially to the freshwater ecology of China, which is extremely destructive. One alligator turtle can cause a whole fish pond to lose its harvest. A large-scale alligator turtle population can even cause great harm to the fish ecology of the entire freshwater lake. The relevant departments have repeatedly issued orders to make releasing alligator turtles illegal. Su Ming suddenly realized that it was no wonder that there were few fish in the lake. With this guy here, no matter how many fish there are, they are not enough to eat. This thing is not native to China, but originated from America. This alligator turtle must have been released by some kind tourists. As a result, most of the fish in the lake were eaten, and the alligator turtle became the tyrant of the lake. Stupid tourist, Su Ming rolled his eyes in anger. If it weren't for this alligator turtle, there wouldn't be so few fish in the small lake. He was thinking about buying some fish fry. Fortunately, he didn't release any fish fry, otherwise, with this disaster, it would be useless to release any more. Also, alligator turtles are not valuable. They are sold by pound, and a pound costs dozens of yuan. Although this alligator turtle is big, it is probably worth only a few thousand yuan. It is estimated that this guy hides in a cave or in the mud at the bottom of the lake during the day, So Su Ming didn't find it when he used his mental power to sweep. The alligator turtle surfaced and saw that the big-headed catfish was rescued and the food was gone. It didn't want to fight. It looked at Su Ming fiercely, then bubbled 2 bubbles, and slowly sank into the water. No matter how cruel the alligator turtle is, it is no match for humans. It can bully men and women in this lake until now because it bullies the weak and fears the strong, and changes its course according to the wind. You want to run? The alligator turtle didn't expect to encounter a more ruthless one today. Wang Hao ran out of the waterside pavilion with a long bamboo pole, and without saying a word, he hit it with a stick. Snap! There was a crisp sound on the water surface, and water splashed everywhere. Immediately afterwards, there was a crisp sound of snapping, and the bamboo pole, which was as thick as the child's arm, was actually bitten off by the alligator turtle, and then the alligator turtle slowly sank into the water. Wang Hao was unwilling to give up, and poked the water with a half bamboo pole, but the lake was so big, and the alligator turtle wanted to run. How could he poke it? Su Ming's mind moved, and he quickly sent a stream of mental power into the water. As soon as the mental power entered the water, it immediately found the alligator turtle. After this guy dived into the water, he probably felt safe and didn't run far, just lying motionless at the bottom of the river. The mental power locked onto the alligator turtle, and the turtle immediately shook as if it had received an electric shock, and its crocodile-like tail swung vigorously, trying to escape from Su Ming's control. Su Ming also felt the mental power connection vibrate violently. The alligator turtle is a cold-blooded animal, not as easy to communicate with as monkeys and cats. It is cunning and fierce by nature and does not obey discipline. Moreover, Su Ming did not have any goodwill at this time, but was full of malice. The alligator turtle would definitely fight back desperately. The friend of animals became the enemy of the alligator turtle, and the mental power connection vibrated violently. In just a few seconds, Su Ming's eyes were full of golden stars, and he was ready to lose control at any time. Wang Hao took a bamboo pole and poked it around, almost knocking down the alligator turtle several times. Seeing that the situation was not good, the alligator turtle struggled and fled far away. Su Ming's scalp was numb, and he only felt a slight bang in his mind, and his mental power was completely broken free by the alligator turtle. He quickly spread his mental power in the water and tried to control the alligator turtle again. But the alligator turtle was much stronger than the catfish. After fighting several times, it finally broke free from the control of mental power. After breaking free from the control of mental power several times in a row, the alligator turtle probably felt that the man on the shore could not do anything to it, so it did not run away, but swaggered to the bottom of the lake, and even shook its tail in the direction of Su Ming provocatively. On the shore, Wang Hao was still poking with the bamboo pole, and Su Ming waved his hand. "Old Wang, stop poking, come and deal with it in 2 days. This thing will bite people, it is a disaster if it is placed in the lake," Wang Hao said. "Wait for me to prepare for a few days, find some fishing nets or something, and then we can deal with it." Su Ming also knew that if he let this alligator turtle wander in the lake, it would be very dangerous. It would be fine if it ate some fish, but it would be a big trouble if it bit people. Judging from the part of its back shell that just emerged from the water, this guy is probably nearly 1 meter long. Alligator turtles are ferocious by nature. Such a big alligator turtle can bite off a person's wrist in one bite. With this guy in the lake, what's the point of doing a cruise business? If a tourist is bitten while boating, he can't afford to pay for it even if he loses everything. But now the alligator turtle has been prepared, and the lake is so big that it is not so easy to catch it. Let you be arrogant for a few days, wait until my mental strength is stronger, and then I will deal with you. Su Ming fiercely gestured a middle finger to the alligator turtle in the water. Su Ming now found that, in general, the larger and smarter the animal, the more difficult it is to control. Some animals, like macaques, are smart and naughty, but their temperaments are not cruel and they are easier to deal with. Some other animals are naturally fierce and cunning, such as alligator snapping turtles, which are thorns. His current mental strength level is not enough to deal with this guy. Fortunately, as long as he continues to use the ability of animal friends, his mental strength will gradually increase. He works in the zoo and has too many opportunities to use animal friends. As long as this guy doesn't escape, he will be caught alive sooner or later. Okay, let's deal with it next time, Wang Hao said viciously. The next morning, the phone in Feng Shui Pavilion rang. Xiao Su. This is Peng Cheng. I have to feed the animals at 10 o'clock in the morning. I'll wait for you in the warehouse. Oh, I see, Master Peng, I'll be there right away. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Zoo. Author, Yan Seg Nian Bai. Chapter 13. Peng Cheng is an old zookeeper. He has been working in the zoo since he graduated from technical secondary school. He has been working there for half his life. He is diligent and hard-working, and has a good reputation in the zoo. Director Song arranged for him to take Su Ming with him to feed the animals. Master Peng, good morning. Su Ming rushed to the warehouse and greeted a middle-aged man with a simple face. Master Peng had already put on his work clothes and was pushing a cart out of the warehouse. When he saw Su Ming, he smiled and said, "Good morning, you go change your clothes first, and then we will move the things into the cart and go together." "Okay, it will be ready soon." Su Ming scratched his head. Master Peng didn't say anything, but he felt a little embarrassed. How could he let the master wait for the apprentice on the first day of work? Su Ming walked into the staff room next to the warehouse, took a blue coat from the wall and put it on, changed into a pair of long rubber shoes, took a pair of leather gloves and stuffed them into his pocket, and pushed the cart out in a formal manner, fully equipped. Then, under the guidance of Master Peng, the two went to the warehouse to select food for the animals, mainly meat, with some fruits and coarse grains. There were 10 large baskets on the 2 carts. It costs a lot of money to eat this day. This meal alone is probably several thousand. The zoo feeds more than 1 meal a day, and there are not only Master Peng and Su Ming as keepers. This also shows why it is difficult to run a zoo well. The cost of feeding animals alone is astonishingly large. Yangchuan City has several large parks, but there is only one zoo. Other cities are similar. Just feeding the animals every day is a heavy burden. Relying on that little ticket income is not enough to make ends meet. It is a heavy financial burden for the government. In addition, there are many national protected animals in the zoo. If they die, they will be held responsible. As a public welfare unit, ordinary parks are much better. As long as there is a one-time investment, the subsequent expenditure is very small. This little bit of food can barely keep the animals from starving to death. We don't have enough money. Master Peng smiled bitterly and shook his head. He pushed the cart in front and led the way, saying, "Let's go to the wolf house first." The wolf house is a large semi-enclosed cage. The 2 layers of wire mesh enclose a space of more than 50 square meters, which is divided into 2 parts. The front part is the wolf's activity area. Visitors can see the wolves through the wire mesh through the half-person high fence. The back half is the place where the wolves sleep and rest, surrounded by a wall. There is a large iron sign hanging outside the wolf house with an introduction on it. The Mongolian wolf, also known as the steppe wolf, is a canine, a subspecies of the gray wolf, and a national second-class protected animal. It is alert and suspicious, similar in shape to a dog, and has high intelligence. It can communicate with its companions through smell and calls. In the process of paleontological evolution, the 3 most perfectly evolved top animals among carnivorous animals are Titanosaurus, saber-toothed tigers, and wolves. Today, Titanosaurus and saber-toothed tigers have become extinct, leaving only wolves. In the wolf house, a larger wolf was drinking water at the trough. Although he lowered his head, his forelegs stood straight, and his ears were erected high and forward, looking very majestic. There were two other wolves standing not far from the trough, but they were not as fierce as the wolves drinking water. Their furry tails were slightly curled up and shook from time to time, which was quite flattering. If it weren't in the zoo, Su Ming would have thought he saw two huskies. There were also several wolves lying in the grass nest at the back. The one drinking water is the alpha wolf, Master Peng explained with a smile, then took out the key and opened a small iron window next to the food trough on the cage. Smelling the smell of a stranger, the alpha wolf raised his head alertly, and his long ears suddenly lay back on his head, tightly attached to the back of his head. His back hair stood up, his lips wrinkled to reveal two rows of sharp fangs, and he arched his back and roared at Su Ming. It was Master Peng who was closer to the wolf leader, but the wolf leader roared at Su Ming and ignored Master Peng. Master Peng explained, "Wolves are as smart as dogs and know that we are here to feed them. But you are new here and they don't know you. You will be fine after a while." Before he finished speaking, the wolf leader suddenly stopped roaring, slowly lay down on the spot, split his lips, and easily pulled his ears to the sides. He stretched out his tongue to lick his lips and yawned. The other wolves no longer showed hostility to Su Ming. One wolf even rolled on the spot and exposed its belly. "What's going on?" Master Peng was stunned and stopped feeding. He looked at the wolf and then looked back at Su Ming with a puzzled expression on his face. The state of the wolf's ears shows its attitude. Pressing backwards means that it is threatened and ready to attack, while spreading to the sides means that it is in a relaxed state. As for exposing the belly, it means extreme trust, and even a bit of coquettish and flattering. Because the belly is the most vulnerable part for most animals and needs to be protected. At this time, the alpha wolf had obviously restrained its hostility towards Su Ming, and the thin rolling wolf showed rare kindness to Su Ming. This situation is not uncommon in dogs, but it is different for wolves. In theory, they will only show their bellies when playing with their own kind. Master Peng has been feeding wolves for so many years. At most, these wolves did not show hostility when they saw him coming, which was far from being intimate. As for showing their bellies, it was something he had never thought of. Su Ming smiled and shook a piece of beef in his hand. "I am here to feed them, so of course they have to please me. The director said you are good at dealing with animals, and it seems to be true." Master Peng laughed and threw beef into the wolf house. This is of course due to the Friends of Animals. Because the spiritual power of Friends of Animals is the simplest and most direct way, and the most trustworthy way for animals, the effect is even better than the relationship established by Master Peng through long-term feeding and wolves. After all, the wolves' guess about Master Peng's behavior is just a habit-based guess. For wolves who are suspicious by nature, this guess cannot completely dispel their doubts and concerns, but Su Ming's spiritual power can achieve or even exceed the effect of communication with the same kind. Wolves are not stupid, especially those in the zoo, who are more tainted with some of the mercenary cunning of humans. Now that they understand that Su Ming is here to bring them food, it is understandable that he makes some flattering gestures that are not wolf-like. The alpha wolf still had to save face, and his attitude towards Su Ming changed from hostility to indifference, ignoring him, maintaining the dignity of a leader, while the remaining wolves, especially the thinnest one, turned their bellies up, looked flattering, and their moral integrity fell to the ground. However, it was almost impossible for Su Ming to control these wolves, especially that wolf. Su Ming helped Master Peng to feed them, and in a blink of an eye, more than 10 pounds of meat went into the wolf's stomach. The wolves still seemed to be unsatisfied, surrounded the city, and under the leadership of the alpha wolf, they stared at Su Ming coldly, with a cold expression that said, "If you don't give me food, I will bite you to death." What an ungrateful wolf! Su Ming rolled his eyes. Getting along with animals is sometimes the same as getting along with people. Everyone has a different personality. You can get familiar with enthusiastic people quickly, but it takes a long time to become friends with people who are naturally withdrawn and indifferent. In the words of human friendship, some animals are easy to get along with, such as monkeys, and some animals are not so easy to get along with, such as wolves, and that damn alligator turtle. With animal friends, Su Ming can theoretically become a friend with any animal, and even become the owner of an animal, as long as his mental strength is strong enough. Just get along slowly, as the saying goes, a journey tells a horse's strength, and a wolf's heart is revealed over time. Thinking of this, Su Ming was about to throw a few pieces of meat in, but Master Peng stopped him and scooped half a basin of rotten strawberries with a small basin and sprinkled them into the wolf house. Wolves also eat strawberries, Su Ming asked in surprise. Wolves eat meat most of the time, but they also need to eat fruits, which can regulate their appetite and supplement nutrition. Su Ming was surprised. The wolves came up to sniff the strawberries and ate them with relish. The juice of each strawberry splashed. After the wolves finished eating, they stretched out their tongues to lick the strawberry juice on their lips. Standing outside the cage, they were just a group of normal huskies. After feeding the wolves, Su Ming followed Master Peng to the nearby red fox area. Red foxes are generally called foxes, with big, round eyes and a big, furry tail to keep them balanced. Their fiery red fur has become a little messy and dull because the zoo does not provide them with enough nutrition. Red foxes are also national second-class protected animals, but unlike wolves, this cute-looking little guy is a typical solitary thinker and rarely hangs out with his own kind. Through mental communication, Su Ming found that red foxes are more difficult to deal with than wolves. Wolves are like cold and arrogant swordsmen. Although they are difficult to approach, once they are recognized by them, they can fight to the death. But red foxes are like cunning and changeable little women, with generalized anxiety disorder, and are full of doubts and uncertainties about everything around them. The word suspicious comes from here. This little woman is also a bit cruel. Master Peng told Su Ming that red foxes like to kill, that is, regardless of whether they can finish eating, they will kill all living things. Like all little women, the red fox particularly likes to eat snacks such as fruits and little birds. Su Ming threw an apple in. The red fox picked up the apple with its two little paws and hid in a dark corner. It chewed it while gurgling. From time to time, it raised its head and looked at Su Ming vigilantly from a distance. It took almost a whole morning to feed more than a dozen animals, such as leopards, wild boars, etc., and walked around the bird area and fed a few pieces of meat to a saker falcon. Su Ming used his mental power to test each animal, which was considered as making friends and getting to know each other, and the personality of each animal was different, even among the same kind. After feeding the animals, Su Ming and Master Peng sent the cart back to the warehouse together. The two changed clothes. Master Peng patted Su Ming on the shoulder and said with a smile, "I live over at Minkingju. There is a large area there. I planted some cabbage, cucumbers, and so on. If you don't have time to buy vegetables, you can pick some from me and eat fresh ones." "Thank you, Master." Su Ming nodded and smiled. After a busy morning, Su Ming's mental strength was slightly improved. He hurried back to Tingfeng Waterside Pavilion, not knowing how the big-headed catfish was injured. This guy is Su Ming's neighbor. If possible, Su Ming certainly hopes that it can live well. Back to Tingfeng Waterside Pavilion, before entering the door, he heard rustling noises in the room. Is it a thief? Or is it Fatty Wang? Super Zoo. Author, Yin Seg Nian Bai. Chapter 14. Director, the fence of the Monkey Mountain was sawed off, and then restored to its original state and wrapped with a layer of rubber. You can't see anything from the outside, but as long as someone leans on it, the fence will break. In the director's office, Section Chief Dong, who is responsible for the security of the park, is reporting the results of the accident investigation to Director Song. Director Song frowned, check the surveillance and find out who did it. Section Chief Dong smiled bitterly, Director, you know that our park has always been short of funds. It's good enough to maintain animal expenses and staff salaries. Those surveillances are just decorations. Many are old and out of repair, and the pixels are very low, so you can't see anything clearly. There is a camera around the Monkey Mountain, but it broke down some time ago. It seems to be man-made. Director Song was silent, frowning more, and his two thick eyebrows were almost close together. He had heard some rumors that some developers wanted to develop villas on vacant land near the zoo. Under normal circumstances, the government would not grant land for public welfare to real estate development. But if a major accident happened in the zoo, that would not be certain. At least it would give someone an opportunity to take advantage of it. What do you think? What should we do about this? Asked Section Chief Dong. Let's hand over the existing information to the public security organs for investigation and handling, Director Song said. This is also a helpless solution. Since nothing happened and there is no evidence, it is unlikely that anything can be found out. Director, why don't you report it to the city and see if more funds can be approved? Let's strengthen the security of the zoo, install cameras on all the walls, and replace the existing cameras with high-definition ones, Section Chief Dong asked. I'll try my best, the old director sighed, but he knew very well that it would be good if the funds could remain the same. Now the whole country is using GDP as an assessment indicator. The principle of approving funds from above is very clear. Which unit can promote the economy will be approved more. There are also scientific research units such as universities, which are unshakable. As for public welfare units such as zoos, as long as they exist, they are fine, but they are definitely not the places that need to be invested in. Outside the Tingfeng Pavilion, Su Ming took a stick in his hand, crouched, and tiptoed towards the gate of the pavilion. Since there were security guards patrolling the zoo, and there was nothing valuable in the pavilion, he did not lock the door when he left. Besides, who would come to the zoo to steal things? They couldn't kidnap tigers and bears. But I didn't expect that someone would actually break into the Tingfeng Pavilion. Is it a thief? Or Fatty Wang? Fatty Wang has always been careless. If he came, he would not be sneaky. Slowly pushing open the door, Su Ming was stunned when he saw the scene in the room. There were 5 cats squatting around the big water tank where the catfish was raised. 5 cats, big and small, sat around the tank, looking up and looking into the water tank to watch the catfish. A big black cat would occasionally stretch out its fleshy paws, lie down, and wave its paws into the water tank to tease the catfish in the big water tank. The catfish swam back and forth in the water to avoid the cat's harassment, splashing a few small water splashes from time to time. The noises just heard were the sounds of the cat's paws paddling the water and the catfish swimming. Huh? Hey, and you guys, why are you here? These cats, all dirty, were the stray cats that Su Ming fed at school last time. The big black cat was scolded by Su Ming for snatching food. Seeing Su Ming coming, several cats jumped down from the big tank together, crawled under Su Ming's feet, and rubbed Su Ming's trouser legs with their heads affectionately. The big black cat stood up, with its 2 front paws lying on Su Ming's calves, and its sharp claws grabbed his pants, trying to climb up to him. Su Ming laughed for a while. These cats are getting smarter and smarter. They can actually find here from school by following their own smell. Probably because I communicated with them with my mental power last time and fed them, these cats think of me as their master. Dehe shook his head proudly, squinted his pupils, and meowed, as if he was about to praise me. You're still praising me? You're blackmailing me, Su Ming glared at the cats unhappily. If wolves and red foxes are the more difficult animals to get along with, then cats are very easy to get along with. After communicating with mental power again, The cats showed a closer emotion to Su Ming than last time, and they were cute and coquettish, which made Su Ming helpless and unable to drive them away. Forget it, if you want to stay, stay. Anyway, I'm a little lonely alone, and I don't need a few bites of food from you. I'll live here from now on. Before Su Ming finished speaking, the big black cat jumped off Su Ming's calf again, turned around, and walked towards the storage room with its tail erect and its butt twisted. What do you mean? You're so awesome. You've become so smart. Su Ming was stunned. What kind of world is this? Even cats can turn their backs on him. Dahe soon came back with a dead mouse in his mouth, looking at Su Ming proudly. Su Ming finally understood what it meant. Haha, you guys have to be self-reliant. Meow meow meow. After a few cat calls, the other cats actually caught a few mice and threw them in front of Su Ming to show off. Come on, if you see a mouse in the future, just chase it away. It's disgusting. It's natural for cats to catch mice, but when Su Ming thought of his pets gnawing on a pile of mouse corpses in front of him, he couldn't bear to watch the scene. 5 cats sat in a row in front of Su Ming. Su Ming called out their names one by one. Give you a name. Dahe, you are still called Dahe. You are the leader. White cat, you are called Miaoi. Miaoi to Miozi, and then Dahe. All of them are here, Su Ming said. The 5 cats sat up straight at once. Dahe leads the team. All of you go to the bathroom. I will give you a bath. You are dirty like cats, oh no, like mud monkeys. Meow meow meow. All the cats objected unanimously, and a very reluctant emotion came from their mental power. Dogs are born to swim, but cats are afraid of water. Bathing is a punishment for cats. However, as the head of the family, Su Ming can't be soft-hearted at this time. These cats were originally stray cats. They were very dirty and might have fleas and lice. He didn't want to raise a few cats and end up getting sick. The ability of animal friends may be immune to animal diseases, but it's better not to try this kind of thing. Under Su Ming's control, actually, he didn't need to use his mental strength. He grabbed the skin and flesh behind the cat's neck, one in each hand, and threw them all into the bathtub. He held them down and didn't let them move. He added soap and water, and rubbed them. Meow. Several cats looked at Su Ming pitifully with white foam on their foreheads, and didn't dare to move. Don't expect me to be soft-hearted. If you want to hang out with me, you have to follow my rules and take a bath regularly in the future. Well, not only taking a bath, as a cat, learning to swim is also a must, Su Ming smiled evilly. Meow meow meow. After bathing the 5 cats and drying their fur, Su Ming built a kitten nest on the first floor of the waterside pavilion, got some bread to feed the cats, and let them play by themselves. Cats are very contradictory animals. On the one hand, they are afraid of water, and on the other hand, they are very curious and like to play with water. After eating, several cats ran to the lake and ran wild around the lake. The big-headed catfish swam back and forth in the tank, and it looked like its injury had healed a lot, but Su Ming didn't dare to put it back into the lake yet, because the alligator snapping turtle was still there. Meow meow meow. A cat suddenly cried out from outside the window. What's wrong? Su Ming opened the window and looked, and was immediately happy. Super Zoo. Author, Yin Seg Nian Bai. Chapter 15. Every life has its own story, and the alligator turtle is no exception. After living in the lake for several years, the alligator turtle has grown from a small guy to a giant, and it is the overlord of the lake. The fish and shrimp in the lake are its food, and it can take whatever it wants. It has no natural enemies. The living space is many times larger than the glass box of the original owner's house, and it lives a comfortable life. The only drawback is that there is no female alligator turtle for it to enjoy. However, between freedom and enjoyment, The alligator turtle obviously prefers the former. But recently it found that its good days seemed to be over. A young man came to the lake. It's not that the alligator turtle has never seen people. On the contrary, including its original owner, it has seen many humans. It is a worldly alligator turtle and is not unfamiliar with humans. In the past few years, there have been occasional cases where tourists saw it and wanted to catch it. But the alligator turtle can easily escape every time. Such a large artificial lake with deep water, it is difficult to be discovered wherever it hides. In addition, if you are careful and don't eat those dangerous-looking baits, there will be no danger. Therefore, as long as the zoo staff don't find it, there is no large-scale encirclement, and the lake is not drained, the alligator turtle's good days can continue. But now it's not possible. That day, it had a head-on battle with Su Ming. Although it finally escaped the control of mental power, the mental power made the alligator turtle feel a kind of fear instinctively. Animals have the survival instinct of seeking benefits and avoiding harm, and the alligator turtle is the same. The alligator turtle doesn't think like humans, but the instinct of survival tells it that this small lake is full of dangers and is no longer suitable for living. So, it prepared to move. As a bachelor, moving is still a simple thing. You can walk with your shell on your back, wave your tail, and leave without a trace of cloud. So at this sunny and windy noon, the alligator turtle set off. It crawled out of the water, chose a remote direction, and crawled into the woods not far away. There is more than one artificial lake in the zoo. The alligator turtle can feel that there is a larger body of water not far away. As long as it can escape there, it will not only have more food, but also be safer. No one can catch it. As soon as it got ashore, the alligator turtle found that a small, furry guy blocked its way. The little guy had a pair of vertical pupils, made a strange sound of meowing, and curiously stretched out his fleshy little claws to scratch its head. The alligator turtle is not the kind of cowardly turtle that hides in its shell when something happens. In fact, its head can't be inserted into the shell, and the strong bite force given by God means that it is destined to have a brave heart. In addition to humans, the alligator turtle will choose to fight any animal without hesitation. What's more, this furry, thin little guy. So the alligator turtle bit it without hesitation. The little guy's arms and legs couldn't stand the bite at all. Even if it was its slender waist, the alligator turtle was sure to bite it in two. With a light click, the bite missed. The furry little guy was as agile as lightning and retracted his claws in a flash. The snapping turtle itself was shocked by the powerful bite force, causing pain in the jaw and dizziness. That would have been fine, but the little guy slapped the snapping turtle on the head with his backhand, causing it to bow its head. This slap didn't hurt. The little guy had soft pads on his palms, and it was actually quite comfortable to slap his head. However, this was a naked provocation, not about pain, but about the dignity of a snapping turtle. The snapping turtle was angry and rushed forward to fight for his life. In a flash, the little guy had jumped onto its back, and his little claws were scratching the snapping turtle's big head that couldn't be retracted into the shell. This time it really hurt. The alligator turtle twisted its body desperately, and its sturdy legs shook up and down, and finally threw the guy on its back off, but before it could relax for a few seconds, the little guy jumped on its back again. The alligator turtle helplessly discovered that this furry guy, although small and not very strong, was so agile that it was completely out of its reach. It wanted to bite it, but it was easily dodged by the other party every time, while the other party could use its sharp little claws to scratch it hard. It was simply a devil. So the alligator turtle turned around and ran without hesitation. While running, he looked back with lingering fear. Fortunately, the little devil was afraid of water and stood by the lake, not daring to chase him, and meowing in the water. The alligator turtle returned to the water, not daring to stay, and sneaked to the other side of the lake, wanting to move in another direction. But just as it walked out of the water, it was horrified to find that not far away, a black little devil with the same fur was staring at it curiously. A feeling of despair surged in his heart. Su Ming was lying by the window and saw this scene. As soon as the alligator turtle came ashore, it was blocked back into the water by the cat. At first, the alligator turtle dared to break through, but every time it was scratched on the head by the cat. Soon, the alligator turtle didn't even dare to go ashore, half of its head was exposed in the water, and it stared at the shore vigilantly. Several cats had never seen such a strange creature as the alligator turtle, and the natural curiosity of the cats was immediately ignited, and they ran around the lake. "Hey! You lead the team, surround the small lake for me, and never let this guy escape." Su Ming laughed and gave instructions to the cats with his mental power. As the saying goes, you don't fear thieves, but you fear thieves thinking about it. If the alligator snapping turtle really escaped, the zoo is so big, and there is a reservoir not far away. I really can't find it. If this guy holds a grudge, he can come to retaliate at any time. Moreover, I can't be sure whether the alligator snapping turtle has escaped or is still in the lake. Therefore, as long as the alligator snapping turtle is not caught, the cruise business will not be able to open for a day. But as long as it is blocked in the lake by a few cats and can't run away, as my mental power gradually improves, sooner or later I will be able to catch it. Under Su Ming's order and driven by his own curiosity, Dehei and a few cats wandered around the lake, like loyal sentinels. In the next 2 days, Su Ming went to work as usual, and then visited the entire zoo animal area and made many new friends. In the zoo, the frequency and volume of the animals' calls these days are different from before. Many animals with higher intelligence are using their own unique ways to communicate with their own kind, expressing confusion and curiosity about this new strange creature. That day, Su Ming and another colleague exchanged afternoon shifts. When it was almost dark in the evening, they passed by the Monkey Mountain and saw the old Monkey King squatting on the Monkey Mountain, waving at Su Ming. The rescued little monkey squatted on the old Monkey King's back, swaying back and forth. Squeak, gaga. You called me over. Su Ming and the Monkey King were familiar with each other. He knew that monkeys were very intelligent and easy to get along with. After getting familiar with each other, there was no danger, so he simply went into the Monkey Mountain through the keeper's entrance. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Zoo. Author, Yin Seg Nian Bai. Chapter 16. Xiao Kong, you've recovered well. Su Ming touched the little monkey's head. This guy was dying 2 days ago and almost died. He was saved by his mental power and treated in the infirmary for a few days. Now he is alive and kicking, and he is completely different from the poor guy stuck in the crack of the stone. The little monkey grinned at Su Ming and squeaked, very proud. This guy has wrinkles all over his face. When he smiles, the wrinkles on his face are all squeezed together, like an old lady over 180 years old. He looked at Su Ming with a chill. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The white-haired old Monkey King took out a bamboo tube from somewhere and handed it to Su Ming. A burst of refreshing fragrance suddenly filled the bamboo tube. Su Ming took it and saw that there was half a bucket of emerald green liquid in the bamboo tube, which looked like wine, but the smell was even more fragrant than the moutai that Su Ming had drunk at Wang Hao's house. Thank you for saving Xiao Kong? For me, Su Ming asked the Monkey King tentatively. Ja, Zizi. The old Monkey King nodded, then raised his head again, put his hands on his mouth, and made a drinking gesture. Can this thing be drunk? Su Ming found it a little funny. Looking at the Monkey King's movements, plus the smell of wine in the bamboo tube, he was reminded of a kind of 100-fruit wine. Most people may not know about the 100-fruit wine, but there is another well-known name for the 100-fruit wine, monkey wine. It is said that wild monkeys in the mountains will collect a lot of wild fruits and hide them in tree holes to store food for the winter, but if there is no shortage of food in the winter, the monkeys just forget that there are fruits stored here, or the monkeys who store the fruits have an accident, such as dying or moving, then the 100 fruits in the tree hole will ferment and become a hole of 100 fruit wine. This is not a legend, 100 fruit wine does exist. In fact, love of wine and color is a common feature of all primates. The Huainan Zoo recorded such a story. The king of Huainan liked to drink. Every winter, he put a lot of fruits and grains at the foot of the mountain. When he went into the mountain again in the spring of the following year, he could often find many drunk monkeys lying on the ground, which were easy to catch. The king of Huainan sent soldiers deep into the mountain where wild monkeys gathered. He saw a giant tree that several people could hug. The tree was hollow. The aroma of wine could be smelled from 100 feet away. When he got closer, he saw that the tree was full of special color and strange juice, which was the 100 fruit wine. Luan was a master of miscellaneous studies. After drinking the 100 fruit wine, he praised it highly and sent people to present it to the emperor, who rewarded him a lot. Later, during the Seven Kingdoms Rebellion, Luan committed suicide after failing to rebel. Huainan Kingdom was also divided into 3 parts. The Han Emperor specially sent people to transplant the hollow old tree from Huainan Kingdom to Chang'an. But since then, the old tree has never produced a drop of 100 fruit wine. Of course, the wine was not produced by the old tree itself, but brewed by monkeys. The old tree was just a container for wine. The Han Emperor didn't know and thought it was the wine of the tree god. He only planted trees and didn't raise monkeys, so he would never drink the monkey wine again. In martial arts novels, from the early Huan Zuluzu to the later books of Jin Yang, Gu Long and Liang Yusheng, monkey wine has appeared. Ling Huchong and Xiao Yuer have drunk monkey wine. However, this kind of wild brewing is really a coincidence. It is extremely rare even in ancient times, not to mention the modern society where the natural environment is severely damaged. These days, there are not many monkeys, and there is monkey wine. Su Ming has seen people selling 100 fruit wine in the market, but it is just fruit wine brewed by crushing several kinds of fruits and then fermenting them artificially. It is not the same as real monkey wine. Could this half-bamboo tube of green liquid in front of him be monkey wine? Su Ming was a little unsure and looked around subconsciously. There were many half-eaten fruits scattered in the monkey mountain, and the raw materials for making wine were quite sufficient. Ja, zhizi. The old monkey king made a drinking gesture again, urging Su Ming to drink the monkey wine. The fragrance from the bamboo tube kept drilling into his nose, and Su Ming also felt very tempted, and couldn't help wanting to taste it. But he was a little uncertain. This thing did smell good, but who knew if it was hygienic? Would there be germs or something? Drinking it would be fine if he had diarrhea, but what if he drank it and became paralyzed with a crooked mouth and squinting eyes? Zhizi. Xiao Kong couldn't stand the temptation of the wine first, and jumped from the old monkey king's back to Su Ming, grabbed his clothes and climbed onto his shoulders, stretched out a finger and quickly dipped 2 drops of monkey wine in the bamboo tube, and then put the finger in his mouth and sucked it fiercely. The wrinkled little face suddenly blossomed like a flower. Xiao Kong squeaked happily, looking happy, and stretched his head to ask the bamboo tube to come closer, wanting to drink monkey wine. Su Ming fed it a small sip. After Xiao Kong drank it, he smacked his lips. Not only was he fine, but he became more energetic. The little monkey's eyes were round and red like his buttocks. Xiao Kong stretched his head to drink more, but the old monkey king stretched out his hand like lightning, grabbed Xiao Kong's neck and pulled him down, then pointed at the bamboo tube, indicating Su Ming to drink too. Then let me try. Su Ming was also tempted by the smell of wine. Since Xiao Kong was fine after drinking it, he should not have any big problems either. But it's better to be careful. Drink less at the beginning. Even if it's really unhygienic, a little bit of wine won't cause any harm. Su Ming dipped his finger in the wine and licked it with his tongue. Oh my God! A strange feeling suddenly came over the tip of his tongue. The rich aroma of the monkey wine was like an indissoluble substance, pouring into his mouth, and his whole body felt clear. He took another sip. This time, it was even more refreshing. It was just like what was described in the book. After taking a sip of wine, it was like eating ginseng fruit. All 48,000 pores on the body were comfortable. Not only that, Su Ming suddenly found that his mental power seemed to have improved slightly. Other than that, there was no discomfort. It can actually improve mental power. Su Ming was very surprised. The taste was secondary, but improving mental power was too important for him. The stronger the mental power, the greater the range and number of control, and the more powerful animals can be controlled. Originally, he could only improve his mental power little by little through constant practice and hard work, but he never thought of such a shortcut. The mental power improvement brought by the small sip of monkey wine just now even exceeded the effect of his whole day's practice. Monkey wine that can improve mental power naturally will not have any virus, otherwise he would have died long ago if he used mental power every day. Su Ming resisted the desire to drink another sip and waited for more than half an hour. There was no discomfort in his body and he was full of energy. So he stopped hesitating and drank all the monkey wine in the small bamboo tube in one breath. Great! Su Ming burped with satisfaction. The rich and mellow monkey wine not only tasted wonderful, but also greatly improved his mental strength. It was a double enjoyment from the body to the spirit. This wine was probably more than 30 degrees. After drinking a small bamboo tube, Su Ming's face turned slightly red. He handed the bamboo tube back to the old Monkey King and asked with a smile, "Are there any more?" As soon as he said this, Su Ming suddenly realized a problem: where did this wine come from? Although there was enough food in the Monkey Mountain, there was no place for monkeys to make wine. The fragrance of monkey wine was so fragrant that it could be smelled a few meters away. If it was brewed in the Monkey Mountain, the breeders who came in and out every day would definitely have discovered it long ago, so how could it be his turn? Chi chi chi, the old Monkey King gestured with his hands and feet. Hiccup, I'm not a scum. Su Ming was a little dizzy after drinking, and smiled foolishly. Chirp, chirp, squeak. The old Monkey King stood up, stood on the top of the Monkey Mountain, and let out a long roar, which was actually quite domineering like the ape demon's IOU. 20 or 30 monkeys suddenly emerged from the caves in various places on the Monkey Mountain. Super Zoo. Author, Yin Seg Nian Bai. Chapter 17. After the monkeys appeared, they ran and jumped to the wall at the edge of the Monkey Mountain, and then one after another, they piled up. These monkeys were the stronger adult monkeys in the Monkey Mountain, with great strength and agility. Not long after, they actually built a monkey ladder several meters high along the wall. The highest point of the monkey ladder was less than half a meter away from the top of the wall. At this time, it was dark and the zoo had been closed for a long time. There was no one around the Monkey Mountain. Otherwise, if someone saw this scene, it would definitely cause a big sensation. Squeaky. The old Monkey King pulled Su Ming, then jumped up and grabbed a branch, swinging like Tarzan, and swung to the side of the monkey ladder in a few steps. He climbed up the monkey ladder to the top, jumped easily, grabbed the guardrail above the wall, and flipped out of the Monkey Mountain. Prison break. Su Ming was shocked. If the Monkey King ran away, he would not be able to explain himself. Besides, the Monkey King had lived in the zoo for many years, and he had everything he wanted, so he had lost the wildness of wild animals. In the wild, he seemed free, but he could never adapt. Whether in public or private, or for the Monkey King, returning to the zoo to eat and wait for death was the best choice. Su Ming was about to catch up, use his mental power to control the Monkey King and catch it back. Unexpectedly, after the Monkey King climbed over the wall, he did not escape immediately, but waved at Su Ming across the fence. "Let me follow you." Su Ming was slightly stunned, then opened the keeper's passage and got out of the monkey mountain. In a short while, the Monkey King had run dozens of meters, holding a branch with one hand and shaking Su Ming with the other hand. Su Ming quickly turned around to lock the exit door and strode after him. So, the Monkey King led the way in front, and Su Ming followed behind, passing through the forest path of the zoo and running towards the back mountain. Along the way, the Monkey King was actually very familiar with the environment of the zoo, and walked through the streets and alleys with familiarity. Occasionally, when he met a few zoo employees walking towards him, this guy would hide in the shadows of the trees, wait for Su Ming to greet them with a smile, and when they walked away, the Monkey King would jump out and run forward. After leaving the animal area and arriving at the forest area, he was able to move freely and soon arrived at the back wall of the zoo. The Monkey King climbed a tree to the top of the wall and climbed over the wall in one go. Su Ming hurriedly climbed up the tree to the top of the wall. Just as he was about to jump down, he felt dizzy. The back wall of the zoo was originally a low earth wall less than 2 meters high. Tourists often climbed in from here to evade tickets. Later, the zoo spent money to rebuild the wall, and now the height of the wall has exceeded 3 meters. Su Ming squatted on the top of the wall, gritted his teeth, aimed at a piece of grass outside the outer wall, and jumped directly off the wall. With his legs slightly bent, Su Ming was ready to fall, but he didn't expect his body to land smoothly, swayed slightly, and stood up again. Su Ming was stunned. "Hey, I seem to be much more agile." A lot of inexplicable things happened during this period, and they all seemed to be related to animal friends. But there was no time to care about these things at this time. Su Ming once again caught up with the Monkey King. The Monkey King was not in a hurry to escape. He ran for a while and stopped for a while, as if waiting for Su Ming to catch up, and the man and the monkey quickly ran into the back mountain. The back mountain of the zoo is the end of a branch of the Kinling Mountains. It has not yet been developed. It is usually sparsely populated. There is not even a decent road. There are rugged rocks and wild trees everywhere. If it were before, Su Ming would not be able to walk far even if he walked slowly, let alone chasing a monkey in the mountains. But now, Su Ming can barely keep up with the Monkey King. His skills are indeed much more agile than before, and his physical strength seems to have increased. 2 figures, 1 man and 1 monkey, ran in the mountains for almost an hour. Just when Su Ming felt that his physical strength was about to reach the limit, the Monkey King finally stopped, climbed up an old tree, sat on it, and his tail dangled. This is a small valley. A mountain spring gurgled down, and formed a small waterfall on a steep slope 2 or 3 meters high. There was a small pool of water several meters in radius under the waterfall. Su Ming didn't care to appreciate the beautiful scenery. He sat on the ground, panting, "I'm so tired, hoo hoo hoo. Chee-cha-cha." The Monkey King jumped on the big tree, pointing at the big tree under him. Su Ming then noticed that there was a strong fragrance wafting from the big tree, which was exactly the same as the fragrance of the fruit wine just now. When he walked to the old tree, he saw that the old tree, which was almost hugged by 2 people, had a section of the tree core empty, and it was full of many rotten and fermented fruits. Tick-tock, a drop of emerald green liquid dripped from the hollow. It was the monkey wine just drunk. Su Ming suddenly realized that this was the place where the old Monkey King made wine. It seems that this guy had a way to escape from the zoo long ago, but he was very smart and knew that there was food and drink in the zoo without danger, and he was happy like a fairy, so he still lived in the zoo. When he was bored, he secretly came out to make some wine. Under the tree was a tin bucket stolen from somewhere, which had been used to collect the dripping fruit wine. It had already collected almost half a bucket of wine. "It's worthy of being a guy who can evolve into a human, amazing," Su Ming gestured with a thumbs up. The old Monkey King scratched his head, pointed at the bucket, and then pointed at Su Ming. "Give it all to me," Su Ming asked. Squeak. The Monkey King nodded. So righteous. From now on, your business is my business, Su Ming laughed. Compared with humans, these animals are really too kind. The iron barrel was already filled with half a barrel of fruit wine, which was about 10 pounds. It would take a long time for the fermented fruit to drip out a drop of fruit wine. I don't know how long it would take to accumulate this half barrel. Bring bottles tomorrow and take more wine back, Su Ming thought. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The old Monkey King hurriedly pulled out all the rotten fruits in the tree hole and threw them far away into the woods. Oh, you mean, these fruits can no longer produce wine? Squeak. The Monkey King nodded. It seemed that it not only knew how to make wine, but also was an old hand with a lot of experience. In this case, there was no need to wait until tomorrow. Su Ming simply carried the iron barrel and took the Monkey King back to the zoo. The Monkey King didn't need Su Ming to lead him. He sneaked back to the Monkey Mountain and continued to live a good life of eating and waiting to die. Su Ming returned to the Tingfen Water Pavilion with the wine barrel, and went to the store to buy a box of Coke, poured out the Coke, and filled it with monkey wine. He filled 4 large bottles and 1 small bottle. Outside the water pavilion, by the lake, Meow 1 to Meow 4, led by Dehei, patrolled diligently, their pupils glowing in the darkness, watching the movement of the lake. Su Ming carried a half bottle of Beguo wine, staggered on the big water platform, and laughed at the water. He he he, alligator turtle, don't be afraid, I will be very gentle. Super Zoo. Author, Yin Seg Nian Bai. Chapter 18. After the spiritual power entered the water, it immediately spread out in all directions like an invisible net, spreading rapidly in all directions. Under the water, the alligator snapping turtle was bullied by several cats for a day and was hiding in the mud and feeling depressed. It is a reptile, not an amphibian. Although it can suffocate in the water and can come up to breathe, it is not so comfortable to stay in the water all the time. With those cats around, it can't move to escape, and it doesn't even dare to go ashore to dry its shell. If it was an ordinary cowardly turtle, it could finally hide in its shell when something happened. Although the claws of those demons were sharp, they couldn't do anything with its hard shell. But it happened to be a brave alligator snapping turtle. Its head and limbs couldn't be retracted. When it met the cats, it could only passively take the beating. The alligator turtle was very frustrated. It finally found a crayfish crawling over. It stretched its neck and bit the lobster. It bit the lobster in 2 with a click. It chewed it fiercely with its big mouth, as if it wanted to vent all the depression on this unfortunate lobster. Just as it was eating with relish, a force came over its head, and the familiar sense of terror spread all over the alligator turtle. Again, the alligator turtle was a little disdainful. That damn human was really boring. He tried in vain again and again. With this level of power, how could he control himself? He hurriedly shook his head and struggled, trying to break free from the control of mental power like the previous few times. But when it came to the end, the alligator turtle was horrified to find that this force was obviously much stronger than the previous few days, and there was no way to break free. After Su Ming controlled the alligator turtle on the shore, it immediately heard a fierce counterattack from the alligator turtle, and the mental power connection was shaking and swaying. Instead of being anxious, Su Ming was overjoyed. Although the alligator turtle struggled greatly, the degree of mental vibration was within the controllable range. This time, this guy can definitely be subdued. After a few seconds, the alligator turtle finally stopped resisting. A large group of water splashed on the water surface, and a turtle shell as big as a table slowly floated out of the water. Come up. Su Ming was not polite to it, and directly controlled it with mental power, letting the alligator turtle crawl to the shore honestly. The alligator turtle was about to fall into the hands of the enemy, and from losing its freedom to being a slave, it wanted to make a dying struggle in despair. The terrifying degree of an alligator turtle on the shore is no less than that in the water. If that guy dares to approach, I will bite him to death. But it just thought so, and before it could take actual action, it was horrified to find that it was surrounded by 5 furry little demons. Teach it a lesson, Su Ming snapped his fingers. Meow meow meow. The cats meowed for a long time. The 5 cats were curious about this big guy. With Su Ming's order, they immediately rushed forward and scratched the alligator turtle without a head or face. The alligator turtle opened its mouth in vain to bite, snap, snap, a series of crisp sounds, and each time it bit nothing. Not only did it not hurt a single cat hair, but it was dizzy because of the bite force. After more than 10 minutes, the alligator turtle didn't know whether it was because of exhaustion or despair. It lay on the ground weakly and let the cat scratch it. It didn't even have the thought of dodging, and it was completely timid. Not counting the head and the crocodile-like tail, the back shell of this guy alone has a diameter of 60 to 70 centimeters. The long crocodile tail, the ferocious big head, and the back shell full of barbs look very scary. Don't play dead. Su Ming bravely kicked the alligator turtle. Seeing that it really didn't move, he used his mental power to control it and carefully tied it up with a rope. Animals like cats and dogs are naturally affectionate. After a little communication with animal friends, they will be very obedient even without mental control. However, the alligator turtle is unruly and is still dangerous without mental control. Su Ming plans to imprison it first and polish its temper until it is completely tamed. Su Ming has plans for the future of the alligator turtle. This guy was caught not because of his weak strength, but because he met his nemesis. If it were not for the ability of animal friends, such a big alligator turtle would be almost invincible in the water, and it would not be a problem to deal with 3 or 5 big men. Even on the shore, the lethality of the alligator turtle is extremely terrifying. Caught off guard, ordinary people are definitely not the opponent of the alligator turtle. If it can be tamed, it can be used as a security guard. It usually lives in the lake and guards the safety near the Tingfen Water Pavilion. If there is any blind thief or something, the alligator turtle will definitely give the other party a big surprise. The pavilion is surrounded by water. If the thief took the water route, Su Ming could only think that the guy had not accumulated virtue in his previous life. As time went by, the big-headed catfish returned to the lake and became the overlord of the lake. The former overlord, the alligator turtle, was tied up like a zongzi and thrown into a large tank to be imprisoned. 2 cats squatted on the edge of the large tank, acting as jailers. If the alligator turtle was a little dishonest, the cats would slap it on the head. Su Ming used his mental power to communicate with the alligator turtle for a while. The ability of the animal friend points directly to the original heart and nature of the animal. Under the mental connection, the animal could not deceive Su Ming. This guy did not mean to resist. He should have accepted his fate. Anyway, he was originally raised by people. But he did not show too much closeness to Su Ming, and seemed to have some resentment. He was eating fish and swimming well, and was the big brother, but he was suddenly robbed. His life went from heaven to hell in an instant. Everyone would have resentment. Su Ming cut a piece of beef and threw it into the tank, which was the alligator turtle's dinner today. Then he ordered a bag of cat food online. The cats worked hard, not only catching mice, but also helping him deal with the alligator turtle. They should be rewarded. He took a photo of the alligator turtle with his mobile phone and sent it to Wang Hao. "Oh my God, how did you catch it?" "I'm going to buy a fishing net to do a big job," Wang Hao asked in surprise. "I caught it with meat. Let's talk business." "The cruise business can be opened," Su Ming replied to the text message. "Oh, I told my grandfather about this, and he also agreed." "Give me a card number and I will give you 8,000 yuan as startup capital tomorrow," Wang Hao said. 6,222. Su Ming gave Wang Hao his ICBC card number, then went back to the bedroom, turned on the computer, called up a Word document, and started to make a document. That morning, Director Song was handling work when someone knocked on the door. "Come in," Director Song said without raising his head. Su-ming pushed the door open, holding a stack of documents in his hand, and said with a smile, "Hello, Director." Xiao Su. Director Song put down the pen in his hand and nodded to Su-ming, "Sit down. Has the work been going smoothly these 2 days? Sister Tong, Master Peng, and my colleagues have all taken good care of me. Everything is fine. I like it here too." "That's good. The interpersonal relationships in our zoo are relatively simple. Do a good job. What do you want to talk to me about?" "Oh, Sister Tong told me last time that I could contract a cruise ship, so I did some preliminary work and wanted to contract a few boats over the small lake," Su-ming said. "Contracting matters require a process, and the director's nod and signature is required. Su-ming came to discuss this matter today." "That's right. It can be contracted. The cruise ship over there was contracted by the employees who lived there before. Later, the employees left and the cruise ship was abandoned." Director Song nodded. "This is a plan I made, including the economic feasibility of the contract, the management plan, etc. Take a look," Su-ming said as he handed the documents he brought to Director Song. Sister Tong didn't say that she wanted to make a plan, but Su-ming felt that if he, a new temporary worker and a young man, just said that he wanted to contract a cruise ship with nothing in his hands, Director Song might not agree. Since it is a serious matter, the attitude must be correct first. If you want others to give you a chance, you must first show something that people can trust, or at least a trustworthy attitude. "You made a plan? Well, not bad, not bad. Let me take a look." Director Song looked at Su-ming with some surprise, took the plan, took out a pair of reading glasses from the drawer, put them on, and read it carefully. "You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Zoo. Author, Yin Seg Nian Bai. Chapter 19. Su-ming was not sure about the quality of this business plan. Apart from the ability of animal friends, he was just an ordinary college graduate. It was impossible for him to make a very mature business plan overnight. But as I said, attitude is the key. The plan is very detailed and organized. In college, Su-ming wrote a lot of papers. The plan is not long, only 3 pages. After reading it for the first time, Director Song read it again before putting it down. He nodded to Su-ming with some appreciation. "I didn't realize that you are a thoughtful person, young man. To be honest, I have never done business. But my father told me that everything starts from not knowing how to do it. The key is whether you are willing to spend time and whether you can endure hardships," Su-ming said. "That's the truth." Director Song took off his glasses, pondered for a moment, then looked up at Su-ming and said, "Young man, you are very lucky. If you were a regular employee of the zoo, it would be inconvenient to contract. The temporary worker status helped you. So, you agree." Su-ming was slightly happy. Although he couldn't make much money by contracting the cruise ship, it would at least exceed his salary, and it was a business that would make a profit without loss. "I agree. However, there is one thing you need to change in your plan." Director Song knocked on the table and smiled. "You have just started. You have to invest in cruise ship maintenance, fuel, etc., so you don't have to pay the park after 3 months, you can pay 30% of the income to the park." Su-ming was stunned. There was such a good thing. Sister Tong told him that it would be 50-50 with the park. "But there is one thing I want to remind you first. Since you have contracted, you have to make money. If you still don't have any decent income from the cruise ship after 3 months, or even let those cruise ships sit vacant, that won't work," Director Song said in a serious tone. Su-ming didn't expect Director Song to mention this. According to Wang Hao's judgment, the total monthly income of the 8 boats is about 17,000 to 18,000 yuan, which is profitable. But that is only a theoretical statement after all, and it is calculated by comparing the cruise ships in the city park. The zoo is relatively remote, and most people come to see animals, not necessarily to row boats. Therefore, it is hard to say whether the cruise business can make money. Su-ming originally thought that even if no one came to row boats, he would not lose money, and the worst case scenario would be no profit. But according to Director Song's statement, not only must we make money, but we must also ensure that the cruise ships have a certain passenger flow. You have to give a standard, right? What is the utilization rate? Su-ming thought for a while and asked. Director Song pushed his glasses and said, the specific standard is hard to say now. But I can tell you that the employees who used to live with you, after contracting the cruise ships, most of the time, most of the cruise ships were empty, and the income for 3 or 4 months was less than 10,000 yuan. If you are still like him, it will definitely not work. 3 or 4 months and not 10,000 yuan. In other words, the director's requirements for himself are not high. As long as there is 3,000 to 4,000 yuan per month, it should be enough. The problem is that the previous employees did not earn 10,000 yuan in a few months, which only shows that there are really not many people who come to row boats. What can I say that I can attract tourists? The zoo is still the same zoo, and the cruise ships are still the same cruise ships. If you want to increase income, you have to think of ways to make some gimmicks. How is it? Director Song asked. Okay, Su-ming nodded. Give it a try. There is still a 50% chance. If you don't try, there is absolutely no chance. This account is not difficult to calculate. Haha, young people are ambitious. Okay, you go and call Director Tong over. I will ask her to handle the contracting procedures for you, and I will give it to you directly after it is done, Director Song said. Not long after Su-ming left the director's office, Sister Tong came over. Director, I heard Xiao Su talk about the contracting. Do you agree? Sister Tong came in and closed the office door. Yes, the young man has ideas and the energy, so let him try. But, wasn't the contract split 50-50 in the past? Sister Tong was a little puzzled. As the director of the director's office, Sister Tong was actually Director Song's assistant and confidant. She had been with Director Song for nearly 10 years and had no scruples when speaking in front of Director Song. Director Song did not directly answer Sister Tong's question, but stood up and pointed to a zoo floor plan behind him. Our zoo is very large, but the real animal area is only 1/3. The remaining forest area, viewing area, a large artificial lake, and several large open spaces are connected to the mountains behind. The government has invested a lot of money in the zoo and built a lot of infrastructure, but in fact, most of the places are hardly used reasonably. You mean, take advantage of the zoo's unique conditions and use large tracts of idle land to generate income? Sister Tong asked tentatively. Yes, actually I just realized this now, but it's a little late. Director Song smiled bitterly. As for me, I am an academic, so I can do scientific research, but it's already a stretch to manage a zoo. As for economics, I'm totally out of my depth, and my mind can't keep up with the market economy. I never thought about this before, but now it seems that if I can't keep up with the trend, I will be eliminated sooner or later. Look, the animals in our zoo don't have enough food to eat, and when bad guys get in, we don't even have the money to replace the surveillance cameras. This is not a trivial matter. Funds, policies, manpower, and so many other things are involved. No one in our zoo understands these things. Besides, we are a non-profit organization. It is not easy to generate income. We can't build a factory. That's why I thought, let the young people try it out, starting with the cruise ship over there, and slowly start some attempts. Anyway, the cruise ship business is not big, and the zoo can't make much money at best. It's better to give up some interests and support Xiao Su. If he can do well there and find a way to generate income that suits the zoo's own situation, we will expand the scale. If not, there is no loss in taking it back, Director Song said. Director, you don't want Xiao Su to contract other parts of the park, do you? How can he have so much money? He is young and has no experience at all. Sister Tong didn't have any objection to Su Ming, she was just telling the truth. Of course not now, so I am also examining him, including his ability and character. If he is capable and trustworthy, then I can slowly give him more places to contract. In addition to the animal area, as long as the rest of the places are generally public welfare, I, as the director, still have the power to do so, Director Song said. Sister Tong sighed and muttered, "Hey, it's a state-owned unit. It's good to say it's good, and it's not good to say it's not good. If you want to do something practical, there are too many troubles and pressures from all sides. We have also contracted out some places before, but in the end, they were neither good nor bad, and they were all in vain. Hey, I've also figured it out. I can finally save some face with my old face and have a few old friends who can talk to me. If I can really find a way to make the zoo better this time, I will find some connections and bear any pressure. When the results come out, the higher UPS won't say anything, and maybe it can be used as a positive model for publicity." Director Song said that he didn't understand politics, but his words captured the essence of officialdom. "Old director, you have devoted your life to our zoo," Sister Tong said with emotion. "To be honest with you, our zoo will be restructured and responsible for its own profits and losses. This is a foregone conclusion. The official document will be issued in a year at most. I am about to retire, but it is still early for you. You have worked hard with me for more than 10 years, and I hope you can all live well. Even if I don't see you, half of the animals in this zoo were brought back by me, and I can't just leave them alone. When doing things, you should always start and end well," Director Song said. Super Zoo. Author, Yin Seg Nian Bai. Chapter 20. After Su Ming completed the contracting procedures, he made a phone call and asked Master Yang, recommended by Wang Hao, to inspect the cruise ship. This Master Yang worked in the gardening bureau in his early years, and later resigned to contract the cruise ship business in the city park. Wang Hao's father was in charge of the city's gardening work. In his eyes, Wang Hao was a prince-like figure. Wang Hao had already called, and Master Yang came over immediately with tools without saying a word after receiving the call. 8 boats, 2 hand-rowed boats, and the rest were round air-cushioned bumper boats with water guns installed on the bow. Master Yang inspected them and found that these boats were basically still usable. The hand-rowed boats needed to be slightly repaired and reinforced, and then some life jackets and fuel were bought, and then work could start. "Well, I'll send someone to buy materials after I go back, and at the latest tomorrow, I'll have someone come to help you repair all these boats. I have a lot of life jackets and the like, and I'll bring them to you. As for fuel, I'll give you a supplier's phone number. I'm his old customer. You said I introduced you, so you can get a 20% discount, and there won't be fakes. It's easy to get things done with connections." Master Yang has a lot of experience in operating cruise ships. Some things that Su Ming didn't expect were considered for him. "Thank you, Master Yang." A little gift. Su Ming took a pack of Zonghua cigarettes and stuffed it into Master Yang's bag. Although Master Yang came here for Wang Hao's sake, he was helping him after all, and he might need his help in the future, so it was necessary to have a good relationship. I guess the other party wouldn't accept the money, so buying a pack of Zonghua cigarettes was not shabby, but the meaning was conveyed. "You're too polite, we're all family. If there are any problems with these boats in the future, just call me directly." Master Yang smiled and put the Zonghua cigarettes into his bag. Early the next morning, Master Yang sent a small worker to repair the rowing boats, and brought a few barrels of fuel. He drove all 8 boats into the lake one by one to test the water, and left 20 life jackets to ensure everything was safe. Su Ming also played on the boat himself. The operation of the bumper boat was very simple. The steering wheel controlled the direction, and there was a start button and a stop button. Even a fool could drive it. Just after he finished, he received a call. "Hello, is this Comrade Su?" A middle-aged male voice with a magnetic tone came from the other end. "Well, I'm Su Ming, who are you?" Su Ming heard the voice sounded familiar. The middle-aged man smiled. "I'm Zhao Yun, that day at Monkey Mountain." "Oh, hello, hello, is Cheng Cheng in good health?" Su Ming remembered that this man was Chen Cheng's father. That day, the other party also gave him a business card with a lot of titles on it. He was a successful middle-aged uncle. His name is easier to remember, and the pronunciation is the same as Zhao Yun in Zhao Zilong, the White Horse and Silver Spear. I took them to the hospital for a checkup. They are fine. They were just frightened. They will be fine after 2 days of rest. Cheng Cheng has been talking about you these days. Chen Cheng's mother and I discussed that we would like to invite you to our house for a meal to express our gratitude. I wonder when you are free, Zhao Yun said. It is not easy to refuse such gratitude. Su Ming thought about it and said, "Well, how about next month?" "I am really sorry. I have contracted a small project at the zoo recently. I am too busy to get away." "Of course, no problem." Zhao Yun paused, then asked, "Do you need help with the project?" "Not for the time being. I will ask you for help if I can't handle it," Su Ming said. "Well, we will see you then." "Okay, let's say this first. Please ask Cheng Cheng and your wife for me." After hanging up the phone, Su Ming went to communicate with the alligator turtle again. The guy's attitude softened, but he still couldn't be completely tamed. Su Ming was not in a hurry. After having the fruit wine, his mental strength improved rapidly. As long as the mental power is strong enough, you can use mental power to crush him and completely subdue him. It is similar to fighting. When the strength is similar, you need to rely on strategies. When the strength gap is large enough, all strategies are nonsense. Just crush him directly. Fruit wine cannot improve mental power indefinitely. Drinking a small cup a day at most will improve mental power to the limit. It takes some time to digest and integrate this part of the improved mental power. Drinking more will be useless. Even so, the effect is far greater than the normal improvement speed. The next morning, Su Ming tore off all the canvas on the cruise ship, and the cruise business was officially opened. Director, Xiao Su's cruise business officially opened yesterday. Director Song was writing a report. After listening to Sister Tong's words, he smiled and looked up and asked, "How is the business?" "Not very good." Sister Tong shook her head and said, "You know, our zoo doesn't have many visitors. These days, there are even fewer people because it's not a festival. His place is remote, and tourists usually don't go there. I heard from him that he didn't see a single tourist all day yesterday. It's not easy to generate income. We have contracted out businesses before, but they all failed in the end. I think Xiao Su will probably not make any money in the end," Sister Tong said. Director Song was much calmer. "Don't worry, let's wait and see. After all, it's only one day." In the middle of Ming and Qing dynasty, Master Peng and Su Ming sat opposite each other, with a few side dishes on the table in front of them. Master Peng poured a glass of wine for Su Ming and asked with a smile, "I heard that there are not many people on your cruise ship." Ming and Qing residence is a paid attraction in the zoo. There are more than a dozen buildings imitating the Ming and Qing styles, located deep in a quiet forest. There are some simulated antiques on display, as well as introductions to celebrities from the Ming and Qing dynasties in Yangchuan City. Master Peng lives in one of the rooms and usually charges admission. However, in the eyes of experts, the so-called Ming and Qing residence is just a joke to coax children. It is not the case at all. In addition, the tickets are relatively expensive, so there are very few tourists. Sometimes no one spends money to visit for several days. His salary is not high. His wife died of cancer in her early years. There is also a daughter in college at home. Therefore, he usually saves money. He even grows his own vegetables. Behind Ming and Qing residence, he has opened up a large vegetable garden. The two are eating vegetables grown by Master Peng himself. When he came to Master Peng's place, Su Ming found that the zoo employees all lived well. He lived in pavilions and waterside pavilions, while Master Peng's place could barely be considered ancient. Su Ming clinked glasses with Master Peng, drank the wine in one gulp, pursed his lips and said, "Maybe it's because we just opened, not many people know that we can row boats. I can't advertise in newspapers for this little business. Advertising is so expensive, it's definitely not necessary. You can make some signs and put them in the park so that tourists can know there is a place to row boats." Master Peng nodded. "Master, to be honest, I came here for this matter. I don't know how to do carpentry, so I want to ask you for help." Su Ming scratched his head. "Hey, you should have said it earlier. This is a simple thing. I'll help you after dinner," Master Peng said.